Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Natalia, and I'm working on building the community with our affiliates within Energy Web Foundation. And we are very excited to open this year's webinar season with topic Playground for Energy Innovators with Turning Tables. And today we have Alfredo, who is the CEO of Turning Tables, Rafa, who is leading innovation ecosystem efforts, and Matthias, who is head of product development. So welcome, guys. It's really great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.
Today's Energy Web Foundation webinar is the story behind Turning Tables Innovation Lab and how they challenge the energy sector of Granada, where the company is based, but not only Granada, also Spain, and I think much more beyond that. Turning Tables has joined Energy Web Foundation in late May last year, and we're going to hear about, of course, your story and what have you been working on, but also I would like to talk a bit about how do you see yourself within Energy Web Foundation community. But before we start, a couple of things that I think are unique about our guests and the company itself, the Turning Tables. So Turning Tables is, as I've mentioned, a startup from Granada, Spain, and they have been developing an innovation ecosystem based on the learnings from their partners and validation of new technologies, with a premise of building the grid infrastructure of the future and enabling innovation, first of all, through a direct line to thousands of users and households. And also what I think even more importantly is to the ability to channel their feedback and experience right into their systems. So that's a little bit about the company, but I think that every company is, of course, made of its people. So I just want to make a short intro about our guests. So first of all, Matthias has been working in the AI field for the past 8 years, I think, and he's been developing virtual assistant-based products for Apple in California. And now he's bringing that technological advantage to Turning Tables Living Lab and its community. Alfredo is serial entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience in tech and internet projects. And if I'm not wrong, he started his first company at the age of 25. Well, sorry, Alfredo, this means now people know how old are you, but it's a lot of experience behind you. So,
more than 25.
Yes. Alfredo has a very strong orientation towards understanding customer behavior, which I strongly believe that it's very important when having a CEO position. And he has managed all aspects of our corporation's life cycle, from startups to well-established corporations. And he has spent last 6 years in Silicon Valley, where he started Turning Tables in partnership with the Grupo Cuerva. And I can surely say that he's bringing a fresh view into the energy field, and he's also fostering the collaboration and experimentation to accelerate the energy transition, which is part of the Energy Web Foundation mission. And I think that's why we are such a great fit. And on the line, we also have Rafa, who has been involved in a wide range of projects fostering innovation in the area of energy, but also education, which are both very traditional industries, which makes a challenge, I think, even greater. And for past few years, his work has been mainly focused on product design and product development, but also design thinking and lean startup models. So after developing different projects in Silicon Valley, he has joined Turning Tables, and since then he's been leading the innovation scouting and innovation ecosystem development efforts. So this is the team that we have today, and I'm very excited to talk to you, all of you today.
Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Before we go deeper into the story of Turning Tables and your innovation lab and how are you all developing this, I want to go just a step back and um, see how much for you, like being a startup in the energy sector, how much is it different from other startups, or sort of being in different sectors? And maybe Matthias, you could tell us your perspective on this.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm the newer team member in the group, and for me, the first thing I noticed that the startups in the energy sector have a very specific challenge. We're talking about a highly and heavily regulated sector where business models are restricted by the legislation of each country. And the challenge is to find new business models that are more profitable for the bigger players in the sector, like the commercialization, distribution, and transport, are in most cases the champions and lobbyists to drive changes in the regulations. And we want to help that to happen. So we want to be able to enable things like peer-to-peer markets, free generation and injection, energy communities and microeconomies, aggregation, scalable new markets. And so one thing maybe is interesting for a future podcast is a case study in Brixton in South London, where they basically are joining efforts, both the private and public sector, to bring the peer-to-peer markets and deregulation of the energy in the UK. So yeah, that's the main reason here.
Okay, I think that's really that's going to be a sustainable model in the future. So this collaboration between private and public, so joining the efforts.
Yeah.
Matthias, I think your story, like your personal story, is very interesting. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. So where do you come from? But for me, what is kind of interesting is that you've been working for Apple for a very long time, and you decided to leave this job and join a startup in Spain. So what is it that drives you? Is it Spanish weather or something else?
That too, of course, but no. So basically, I grew up in a small town in the middle of Argentina, and where getting access to electricity, communications was really difficult, and the quality of service back then was really poor. And right now, the years have passed by, and technology is all around us. Communications are more accessible than ever before, but the energy sector has not evolved in the same pace, and especially in emerging markets like in Argentina. We still have very complicated and obscure energy billing systems. No one can read or understand. We have oversized infrastructures that on a hot day in summer still goes down because of a load peak. And even more, we continue to burn and release gases to the atmosphere. We're manipulating nuclear waste to generate energy. And we can keep going for hours just to talk about this. And I think it's time for all that to change. And I'm from the high-tech sector. I think we all need to help drive that change. And basically, I'm saying this as an introduction because that's my main motivation. I've been working on the software development field for pretty much 16 years, and more precisely, as you mentioned, in artificial intelligence. And although I'm enjoyed working in the Bay Area, in Google, at Apple, I think it was time for me to start focusing and moving all that experience and knowledge to the energy sector, especially around renewable energies. And the motivation is also around I have 3 beautiful children, and for me it's more and more important to start doing something about it. It's not just to talk about the future and how we can impact the future, but to do something about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now we can talk more about TurningTables and how was the idea born, and also why is it so difficult for innovators to break through in the energy sector, and maybe Alfredo, you would be the best person to talk to this about.
Well, so if in my opinion, in my humble opinion, main innovations usually in every sector are coming once that sector is being digitalized. So, as an example, it happened in the music sector. It happened, and it's happening now with cars, with the mobility sector. So, to me, Tesla is an iPad with wheels, and now many other players are coming into that sector. And in that aspect, the energy sector is way behind others, way behind others. So once we have the right level of digitalization and access to relevant data, probably many others will come and make innovation happen. And on the other hand, as you know, these existing companies, the current incumbents, they don't have any incentive to innovate. They are basically asset-based companies, and due to regulation, they don't have any incentive to innovate, making even more difficult to new entrants to have access to those resources and to make any kind of meaningful innovation. That, to me, are the two main reasons: lack of data because of the lack of digitalization, and the lack of incentives as well.
And to go a sort of a layer deeper, can you tell us more about the Innovation Lab, and what is it, and how long did your team work on this idea?
Yeah, so basically we try to solve one of these two aspects, or maybe both of them I mentioned before, is to solve these hurdles for innovators and startups to do real things. So we are trying to bring to those players real infrastructure and real customers they can play with, they can work together with. And the idea started early in 2017. We did some research. We interviewed many industry professionals, and we realized very soon that was the main aspect, that there was a lack of experimentation ability. So we started some conversations with many universities like Stanford, MIT, Lawrence, Berkeley Lab, existing players as free electrons, and it was very clear from the very beginning that the lack of experimentation was a key component to avoid this innovation. That's the way we started, trying to solve that very first pain.
And today, everyone is talking about innovation. It's a buzzword, and also blockchain. So, how hard it is to place yourself on the market as the Innovation Lab when sort of everyone is trying to do something sort of similar?
Yes, I think, and as with any other new company, is very difficult to create your own space, and especially as we mentioned that in a sector that is highly regulated and with a lot of lobbyists. But we believe that we have the right ingredients, and we are cooking, and we trust in our ability to create this great recipe, and hopefully we'll make it.
And are you willing to share the ingredients that you have in your lab and while you're cooking?
So I think it's basically our willingness to run experiments. This is I believe this is something missing in the sector. So people is afraid. So no, we are dealing with such an strategic part of our system is energy. Nobody can live with energy, and that sometimes is being used as an excuse not to run experiments, not to try out new things. and we are aiming to change that. So I think it's simple, but it's more a matter of willingness that is difficult to do or not. It's we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. But it's definitely sort of the attitude that you have, and how you see the energy sector of the future. I think what's really driving you. So it's
Yes.
very admirable. Yeah. Matthias, so what type of demand are you seeing on the market?
Well, and I think part of the reasons that we have we wanted to participate in this webinar with EWF, and Rafa will likely talk a bit more about that in a few minutes. But it's basically to reach out to all the affiliates and validate our value proposition, to share what the Living Lab is about and better understand their needs. We really want to understand the needs of the researchers and software developers, manufacturers, startups out there working on this, to help them validate and field test their pilots and MVPs, with a focus on understanding what is the impact of their work, both from a physical, electrical point of view, as well as from a business perspective. And the main offer that we have is basically, we have one of our main partners is Grupo Cuerva, is a DSO in the south of Spain. And basically we have the availability of this grid and the ability to try there. And that's one of the main elements of our Living Lab, that includes a substation, more than 200 transformers, and about 4,000 supply points. And we also offer a comprehensive set of tools that will enable dynamic grid analysis, stability calculations, the ability to simulate whatever they need on our Living Lab.
So the whole package.
Hopefully.
Okay, great. And we're going to talk more about Cuerva a little bit later, because I think it's a very interesting story. But I just want to go again back to the Living Lab, and I'm trying to understand what is it that really differentiates your Living Lab from others out there. And of course, it's the attitude. But maybe Rafa, you can tell us, how do you see this happening?
Yes, I mean, the attitude is very important, but I think that there are two main things that may make our Living Lab special. And one of them is our open data philosophy. And the other one, I think, is the community. So we are working very hard to build a community of people willing not to only test new technologies and include them as part of their lives, but also people who actively participate in the product service development process. So people who share their pains, their motivation, and which I think is very important for innovators and entrepreneurs, people giving you feedback about what you are building. So we think this will help innovators not only to build new products, new innovative technologies, but also to build products that people love. And sometimes, entrepreneurs forget this part, and I think it's key. So we are working very hard to build this community. And yes, in few words, we can say that our open data philosophy and the community are the main pillars of this Living Lab we are building.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think our philosophies are very aligned, because at Energy Web Foundation, we're also building the technology on one hand, but even more importantly, we're really building the community and getting the feedback from the people that are going to use this technology, and to make it sort of very, very useful for them. Now I want to go back to Cuerva and talk about your deals, and I'm really interested about your cooperation with Cuerva, and you being a startup, how important it is to have a partner in the energy sector, and what do you see as main advantages in working with such a big company, but also there probably must be some disadvantages. So if Alfredo, you could talk to us about this.
Yeah, so Corva is a key partner for us, and as we mentioned before, the Living Lab is a piece of a real network with real customers. It's not a laboratory without people around. So, and that was the key component missing in the equation. So we get to an agreement with them and to manage a part of their network in these two small populations, fully digitalize that part of their grid. And, even they don't have any incentive to innovate. They fully believe on that's part of the future. And they also know that they cannot compete against others with the current tools that they have. So that's for us was key. Was a key point to make the decision to move forward with this project. And also, even if they are a company with older than 70 years, so they were funded. Well, I don't know exactly, but it's older than 70 years. It's around 70 years old company. What happens is they are still small enough, so the decisions are concentrated in 1-2 people. So once we have to make something, and once they commit, things are done immediately. So not a lot of executives deciding, being afraid of losing their chairs. It's a complete decision-making process. They understand what is happening in the sector, and they support us. So it's key. It's key. Without them, we didn't have that playground. We are hopefully offering to many others. And the trade-offs, as you mentioned, of course, still are the same as with many others. They are not that fast. So sometimes when we think this should be done, let's say we are always in a hurry, and they don't have that need. So they are making money. The business is safe, and why are they going to run? So. And for them it's very, very difficult and extremely difficult to be, to move from what they are doing in this highly regulated sector. So even but they are still, again, even they sometimes are working at a different pace. They support us, and you always have a phone number to call someone to speed up a process. So that's what they are so important for us.
Mm-hmm. So basically what you're saying, that it's very important to identify the right person at the company.
Yes.
Who sort of has the, okay. And then I'm also interested is how, could you share maybe how did you approach Cuerva with this project at first? How did you get them interested in TurningTables?
Well, in fact, it was a little bit the other way around because I was living in California and doing with one of my startups, and a common friend approached me and told me about a company that they've been focused for last few years, trying to become an innovation-focused company, an electricity company. At the very beginning, I wasn't very attracted by the idea, but he convinced me to listen. And they needed to develop this innovation mindset to change the culture of the company. We start sharing some ideas. At the very beginning, it was a more traditional approach. Maybe we were discussing several ideas, an incubator plus a venture fund, etc. So finally, we got to an agreement, and I think it was a good fit. We got to an agreement very soon. They were looking for someone who wasn't coming from the energy sector with experience in innovation and startups. And I was looking for my next challenge, and I think energy sector is huge, and the impact we can make hopefully is huge as well. And that's the way it happened. So I think it was a brave decision coming from the owners, the people who were managing the company, and they decided to take the risk and not doing the same than others were doing, and that's why we are here. So.
Exactly. Also, probably the right timing. It's always
Yes.
key to collaboration, but also maybe for the companies, for like our corporate partners. So for the more traditional companies, I'm always thinking how risky it is for them to embark on a journey with a startup that have a completely different mindset, completely different sort of procedures, etc. So it's quite interesting, and maybe I don't know if there are any specific thing that you would like to emphasize that you think Cuerva saw in you that sort of pushed them to go to this together.
I don't really know what they saw in me, but anyway, so probably it was determination. I remember at the very beginning, it was a sort of at the very beginning we decided to, let's say, to start collaborating. I said, okay, maybe we can try for a few months, and it was a sort of a dating process. And for any, it was very hard. Even if they were decided to take a risk and to do real disruptive innovation, I still remember their faces sometimes when, for example, I remember one, let's say, board meeting where the top management were there, and I said, you know what, I'm thinking next activity we are planning is we will get together with science fiction writers and we'll come up with some ideas, and we will do that sort of reverse engineer. And they were saying, oh yes, good idea, but their eyes didn't say that. So it was like, but you know what happened is they trust me, and that's it. And also I think we made very good progress. At the same time we were closing deals with free electrons, with Lawrence Berkeley Lab, with with you guys, and that with we probably will talk later of one of our main partners, Repsol, who recently joined us.
Yeah.
So that combination between crazy stuff and completely different new ways of doing and delivering some results was the way we manage the relationship. But I would say, but I should ask them.
And having this relationship, and now you've been working with them for quite some time. So what is it that you value most in this partnership?
They are so determined to do it, and they believe that and they are very open-minded, which is very rare in this sector. So that's really, I really appreciate. Yes.
Okay, great. During the ecosystem showcase, so at Energy Web Foundation Affiliate Forum, which is an event we organize twice a year for all of our affiliates, I remember seeing in your deck that you're also working with Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, that you've also, Alfredo, mentioned. So they're known as a synonym of excellence and in the energy research area. So could you share, maybe Matthias, on what are you working on with them?
Yeah. So it's really a pleasure, and we're very lucky to be able to be working together with Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. They are quite unique, and the reputation they have worldwide is well known. And together we are co-developing a power load floats using Panda Power. So what we have is the development of models both for medium voltage and low voltage on steady state. That enables us to basically simulate Cuerva's, our grid electrical behavior, and to be able to understand and predict the effect and impact of aggregation models, peer-to-peer markets, flexibility, load balancing, and other and other future behaviors that we're analyzing. And our work with Berkeley Lab is focused on integrating multiple solutions to validate and test the value propositions of new members. These software companies, hardware manufacturers that want to try their technologies, we help them validate from a physical, electrical, and business model perspective.
Mm-hmm. And talking about collaboration between private sector and academia, University of Granada is also one of your partners. So how are you using their knowledge, and how is this tech transfer happening? How are you sort of putting it into the commercial sphere?
Yeah, so it's University of Granada is very and especially relevant in the artificial intelligence and computer science field, where this university is ranked number 33 worldwide in the Shanghai Index, is the number 7 in Europe and the number 1 in Spain. And as you guys know, data and artificial intelligence are key disciplines for the future of any power system. And this is our focus, working with them. On this matter, we are working with the AI division within the computer science department. And our main goal is to bring more intelligence to the grid. We're developing a multi-agent system to build the foundations for power aggregation and grid stability.
Mm-hmm. And what is very interesting again to me is that you are a startup, but you're reaching out to all these different partners that are sort of in the same sphere, but also like very different types of partners. So you're also reaching out to big corporates as Repsol. And for those who maybe haven't heard of Repsol, could you tell us a bit about this company and what is it that you're doing with them?
Yeah, so Repsol is a very important member of our Living Lab. They're one of the biggest oil and gas companies worldwide. They have been working and researching towards the electric energy sector for some time now. They see the many opportunities there are there, and we, together we decided to go through this learning curve and journey. And what we're basically doing with them is we're helping them validating and field testing their work and research in our Living Lab.
Mm-hmm. And now I would like to go to other side. It's great you have projects and pilots and partners. I think that's crucial. But also being a startup, access to finance is always a challenge. I mean, everyone has a challenge with access to finance, but being a startup, it's always more difficult because of lack of sort of, let's say, previous track record, etc. So what are the needs and opportunities in the sector to attract investment? Alfredo?
Yes, thank you for the question, Natalia. No, so I think this is for now. I don't think this is the most attractive sector for venture capitalists. So it's a highly regulated sector, and even if for anyone at seed stage is very difficult, especially in this sector, is very difficult. What is happening, on the other hand, is that more and more, for example, oil and gas companies, corporate companies, are investing in general in the electricity sector. But anyway, this is improving. But I used to talk in a regular basis with venture capitalists, and still we need a higher degree of digitalization and new models to get those guys interested in our sector, because they look for exponential growth, and it's so difficult to get those numbers in a sector so regulated as this is, that they are still waiting for those digital models coming from a different angle. So this is my view. It's not easy, but at least we can see that from oil and gas companies that they are investing, and they have a lot of money, much more money than utilities. my recommendation would be to, if you're looking for funding, go and meet those guys and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And you being a CEO, what is your management philosophy?
I'm not sure that this is my management philosophy, but at least in this company, I think we used to say that we have three main working principles, which is to stay without the startup mindset, that meaning that agility and experimentation is at the core of our activity. Open collaboration, which is for us, everything we do, we look for someone else to come with us. And usually we say that, we call that the 80-20 rule. So we do only the 80, the 20, and try to find someone else who is already doing that and knows and has a deeper knowledge than we have. And also to attract talent from outside the company. And that is related to the previous one, but we believe, and I think everybody could agree in this nowadays, that no matter how smart you are, there are always more talent outside than you have at home. So that's, I could say, what we use, I think, as working principles. Stay agile, run experiments without being afraid about failing, collaboration, and attracting talent.
And also, you now mentioned motivation. Like, it's also very difficult to maintain the motivation within the team. So, yeah, I'm just...
Yes, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. So when we are working with a level of uncertainty, a very high level of uncertainty. So, I think one of the things that motivate all of us is to deliver, and it's hard to deliver when we still don't know exactly where the value is. But this is part of the startup journey, so I'm used to that. So
exactly. With all this experience of 25 years. Yeah. Coming back to something I mentioned at the beginning is, how do you see TurningTables as part of the Energy Web Foundation? Matthias, maybe we've been working a lot together, so maybe you can tell me more about this.
Yeah, so basically in the same lines that what we mentioned before is that we want to be an active member of EWF by providing the support and infrastructure of our Living Labs to all the affiliates. We want to help understanding affiliates' needs around their initiatives, around their technologies, and basically go through the exploration and validation process together. And a very important aspect for that is to help identifying their pain points and support and inform the discovery process. And that's basically our priority. And our Living Lab is the ecosystem, and as we showed before, is that playground to enable that discovery.
And one of the potential areas of cooperation is actually you're starting to work with D3A team. For just a little bit of background on D3A, for those who are not familiar with it, is D3A is a blockchain-based distributed energy market model developed by Grid Singularity for the Energy Web Foundation, and they're supporting our mission to enable this decarbonized, decentralized, democratized, and digitized energy system. And D3A stands for Decentralized Autonomous Area Agent, and it serves both as an educational tool for all energy market actors, but also as a research project, so exploring the blockchain potential to catalyze energy system transition. Could you tell us a little bit about what you have been discussing with D3A? So that's something that we're going deeper into cooperation with Energy Web and D3A.
Yes, so although we're in a very early stage, it looks very, very promising. And we're basically aiming to integrate the intelligence behind E3A, both visualization, virtualization, and the business logic, especially that part, with the power of the electrical-based simulation that we're developing with Berkeley Lab as far as our living lab. And we believe in the potential of tackling down the aggregation challenge from both an electrical and business perspective, and mostly with a unified environment and tool. And I think that's the reason we wanna engage with D3A guys and Grid Singularity, because they bring a lot of experience modeling from a business perspective using blockchain, and I think we can help enabling those electric or energy transactions from an electrical point of view.
Perfect. Okay. Now we're gonna start wrapping up, but before we do that, future plans for Turningtables. Maybe Alfredo, you can tell us about like scaling and financing, and what are your plans?
Yeah, so our main goal and our main priority is to continue developing our living lab, innovation ecosystem, bring more companies, startups, researchers, manufacturers, to test and validate their technologies, their use cases in real life infrastructure. So developing the right tool set for them and developing the community and this co-creation ecosystem with customers. It's our main goal, and for next future.
Okay. Well, I wish you a lot of luck. And I really want to thank you for your time today. And maybe before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would maybe like to add? Something sort of a message to the community?
Yes, Natalia. Yeah, I would like to finish this webinar in saying thank you, and with a call to action, or actually two call to actions. I promise I will be very brief. First of all, so we will be more than happy to talk with anyone who consider our living lab, our playground could be valuable for the development of their technology, your product, your service. So please send us an email and tell them more about your project. We will be more than happy to understand if we can help you out with that. So that would be awesome. And second, as Matias and Alfredo mentioned before, our goal is building a living lab adapted to the innovator community needs. So, and for that, what we have been doing from the beginning, but what we want to keep doing is talking with people willing to share with us their story and how our living lab can be valuable for them. So if anyone here listening to this webinar want to share their story and their opinion, that would be awesome, because we are sure we can learn many things from you. So please send an email and let's talk. Let's start collaborating.
I think that's a great message to close. I really want to say big thank you to all of you. So thank you, Rafa. Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you, Matias. It's really pleasure working with you, and I wish you a lot of luck. And I hope that we'll be able to bring the change in the energy sector together with our joint efforts.
Thank you, Natalia, for the time and the space to share this.
Thank you so much, and that's all.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.